Saudi Arabia, new warnings today to would-be protesters not to try what we're seeing in Libya, what we saw in Egypt. These warnings come as we are getting some unconfirmed reports that protesters could take to the streets of the kingdom as early as today. March 11th is the planned date for protests, but we could see action as early as today. KT McFarland is a Fox News national security analyst and the host of Fox News Live's DEFCON 3. KT, this is, Libya obviously is a matter of concern. Bahrain has been a matter of concern. Egypt was as well. But Saudi Arabia is a totally different story. And this week, they are going to take to the streets in Saudi Arabia, contrary to the government's warning, saying you better not do it. It's not legal. And some are suggesting that the Saudi kingdom is already suggesting the green light on physical and violent crackdowns on the folks if they do it.
The Saudis are terrified because what they looked at when Egypt happened is from their point of view, the United States pulled the rug out from under Mubarak, longtime U.S. ally. So they're thinking, well, the United States do that to us if the same thing comes to our neighborhood.
Because just so our viewers know, remember it was reported that the Saudi king and President Obama had a very tense conversation
about
where
what are you doing with Mubarak?
Right.
Are you pulling the rug out from under? So they're terrified about that. Now, the other thing they're really worried about, though, is, they're a rich country. They don't have the same problems Egypt, Tunisia, Libya have. They can pass out a lot of money. In fact, they've just opened $36 billion for low-interest loans to their people.
They're trying to appease their people.
They're trying to hand out the goodies to their people so they don't take to the streets. But what they're looking at is Bahrain. Now, Bahrain's a little country. It doesn't have a lot of economic problems. What it does have is a Shiite-Sunni divide. The Sunnis control Bahrain. They're 30% of the population, but they're the ruling family. 70% of the population is Shiite. They have pretty good jobs, but they're protesting because they want a bigger stake in it. So the Saudis look at that and say, wait, we've got a Shiite population of our own.
We have a similar divide.
We have a similar problem. What happens if the Shiites have a bigger role in Bahrain? They're going to want a bigger role here in Saudi Arabia.
And it doesn't matter how much we jack up their payments on...
Exactly. And who are the Shiites? Friends of Iran. Remember, Iran is Shiite and Persian. Saudi Arabia is Arab and Sunni. So the Saudis look at this in Bahrain and elsewhere in the Gulf as a proxy fight between Saudi Arabia and Iran. So they are terrified. Now, what
Okay, but if those are the stakes, a proxy fight, if we see these protests take place this week, and we know that our Saudi allies are looking at this as it's Saudi versus Iran, really, then we have to be worried too, because they are going to take to the streets.
We have to be really worried. Okay, why? Because Saudi Arabia has historically pumped extra oil to help us out. Helped us out in the in the run-up to the end of the Cold War with President Reagan. They've just offered to pump more oil because the Libyan oil isn't getting to market. So they're the guys who say, don't worry, we're going to keep the price down. We're going to pump more oil. We're going to help you, America. The other thing they've done is...
What are we expected to do, though?
Well,
what are we expected to do to help them?
What they want to have us do is not what we did to Mubarak. They think, they don't want to have demonstrations, but if they ever get to the point where they've got demonstrations where they have a Shiite population that wants a bigger stake in governing, they want us to stand by Saudi Arabia.
It's happening. It's going to happen this Friday. They're calling it a day of rage. It's been publicized on the internet. I mean, according to at least one unconfirmed report, it's going to start as early as today and build up to Friday, but many confirmed reports that it's supposed to happen in earnest this Friday. So what is President Obama supposed to do?
He's in a rock and a hard place because on one hand, he's encouraged reform, revolution, demonstrations in Tunisia, in Saudi Arabia, I mean, in Egypt and in Libya and in other countries. But Saudi Arabia...
It's a different story.
This is a different story. I mean, that's the price of gas. That's the American economy. That's the world economy just struggling to recover now, just peeping out of the doldrums that it's had. What happens if it gets shoved back into a recession because of high oil prices? So I think Saudi Arabia is the biggest one, and that's the one you're really worried about.
That's the big story this week as we watch the Middle East.
And where do we fall? Do we, help them? Do we not help them? Do we help their reformers at the expense of our economic interests, or do we not? Do we prop up a monarchy at the expense of our economic interests?
Right.
Tough.
Well, hopefully the protests aren't until Friday, and we've got at least 5 days to figure it out.
Exactly.
KT,
Get a bicycle.
Get a bicycle, KT says. You'll be fine. Don't rely on American oil. Foreign oil, I should say. Thank you, lady. Well, American college students studying in Europe has suddenly gone missing. Now,